Welcome to the eCommerce Badassery Podcast, the place for scrappy female entrepreneurs who want to learn actionable steps and strategies to grow the traffic, sales, and profit in your e-commerce business. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster, a 20-year retail veteran who spent 3 years as the only employee of a 7-figure online store. That shit was crazy. I know exactly how it feels to do all the things, and I'm sharing everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. I may have started this business by accident, but supporting badass bosses like you lights me the fuck up, and I am so stoked to see you grow. Are you ready, babe? Let's roll. Welcome back to the eCommerce Badassery Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster. In this week's episode, I'm sharing some of the most important tools you'll need to run your e-commerce business like a well-oiled machine. I know that at the beginning of the new year, so many of us are anxious to get organized and get some new systems and processes in place. So I thought this was the perfect time to talk about these things. For today's purposes, we're going to talk more about systems and processes for the back end of your business. And then in next week's episode, we're going to cover the must-have apps for your Shopify store, which will refer more to expanding the functionality of your website from providing a great experience for your customers while also increasing the overall effectiveness and performance of your website. I'm also going to break these out into 2 groups, what you need at a very basic level, like even if you're just starting your business today, and then what you'll need as you start to grow. Additionally, I'll recommend some different options for the same type of tool so you can make the best choice for you at this time. If you're a bit more advanced in biz or a higher volume store who thinks they don't need to listen to this, I recommend you just speed it up and listen to the entire thing because you never know what nugget you might catch along the way. And don't worry too much about taking notes. You can catch all the show notes with links to my favorite tools in your podcast app and on my website at ecommercebadassery.com/95, which will also include the entire transcript to this episode. So let's hop right into it. First up is a proper shipping label printer. Stop using your standard document printer and get yourself a thermal printer. These print much faster and they don't use ink. They'll save you so much time and money in the long run. I also recommend you get accordion labels, ones that fold onto themselves instead of labels on a roll, because when you're printing a lot of packages, they'll come out back into a roll, and it's super annoying. My favorite is the Rollo printer, though lots of people love their Dymo label printers too. Next up, Google Analytics and Google Search Console. Even if you never look at them, you'll want to get them installed and set up from the very beginning so you can start collecting data right away. I cover all the Google tools in episode 17 of the podcast, so take a listen to that one if you haven't already. A quick reminder when you install Google Analytics is that you have to check Use Enhanced eCommerce inside of Shopify, and you have to turn on eCommerce tracking for each view inside Google Analytics. There are a ton of tutorials on the internet for this, including Google's own documentation and Google Analytics Academy, so it's easy enough to get it properly installed. I'm also working on a Google Analytics crash course, so stay tuned for details on that. Now, if you're brand new, like you haven't even launched your online store yet, but you're thinking about it, you'll need an e-commerce platform. My favorite is Shopify, and while it's certainly not a perfect system, it's at the top of its class for sure. Like the iPhone, it gets all the apps first and partner integrations. Plus, they have their own POS system that makes it really easy to sell in person while keeping all of your inventory synced. If you've been following me for any length of time, you also know that you'll need an email marketing platform. My number one pick is for sure Klaviyo, as it was built specifically for e-commerce. I know it can feel cost prohibitive for some of you who are just starting out, and you might be tempted to use Flodesk because it's so easy and pretty. I did an entire episode comparing the 2 platforms. It's episode 81 if you want to hear more, but Klaviyo is still my number one. If you're just really not ready to go the Klaviyo route for whatever reason, you can use MailChimp, though I find the way they nickel and dime you for their features, by the time you get the full suite of tools you need, you might as well just pay for Klaviyo. Another option is OmniSend. They are the closest in terms of features and functionality to Klaviyo for a little less money. And if you're really budget conscious, first I would challenge you to say you do have to invest a little money to make money in an e-commerce store. But I understand we're all at different places in your business. I would recommend MailerLite over Flodesk though. You're also going to want a way for people to leave reviews for your products. Collecting social proof is so important and really helps new and returning customers make a buying decision. I have an entire episode where I go a lot more in depth on this, number 16, if you want to take a listen. But I want to point out a quick comparison of the Shopify review app, that's the free one you can install, it was made by Shopify, and any more advanced app you'll find in the Shopify App Store. The native Shopify review app is fine if you're just getting started, but my biggest gripe with it is that it has no built-in way to request reviews from your customers. So you will have to set this request up in your own email platform, and the customer will have to navigate back to your website, click the leave a review button, and then leave their review. This can be a bit of a pain in the ass for the customer. It doesn't mean they won't leave reviews, just that it's a bit more friction on their end to accomplish. On the other hand, a review app like Stamped, which is my current favorite, will send those email requests automatically and allow the customer to leave the review inside the email itself, never having to navigate back to the website. So it's a lot easier for them to accomplish. In addition to having that social proof to help you sell more products, it's also a great way to get feedback from your customers. The reviews they leave will give you so much insight into what your customers need from you, how they feel about the products you sell, and how you can continually improve everything in your business. Another tool you'll want to have in your arsenal, no matter what level of business you're at, is something to help you manage sales tax in your e-commerce business, if you're in the US. I don't know all the details if you're outside of the US, so definitely consult with a professional there. When it comes to collecting sales tax in the US, there's still a lot of misinformation on the internet, and many people think you only need to collect sales tax in the states where you have a physical presence known as nexus. So like wherever you run your business, a lot of people think they only need to collect sales tax in their home state. But after the South Dakota versus Wayfair case in 2018, it's no longer based on physical nexus, but instead it's based on economic nexus. Essentially, every state gets to make their own rules and create thresholds for when you have to start collecting sales tax for that particular state. It's generally based on how much revenue you make in that state, and some states require you to start collecting sales tax on the first dollar that you ship there. Tune into episode 36 for more details on this and get yourself a tool like TaxJar to manage this for you. If you're on Shopify Plus, you can also use Avalara. Like I said, if you're outside of the US, sorry, can't really help you. Definitely go speak to a professional. I know you have your own crazy rules over there. Another tool you'll need, even if you're just getting started, are SOPs, also known as Standard Operating Procedures. I know when you're a one-person show, you feel like maybe you don't need these because you have all the processes in your head. But the sooner you start writing all your processes down, the easier it is to start outsourcing when you're ready, and the easier it is to identify holes in your operation. Start creating these before you think you'll need them. Create them inside a Google Doc or another easily editable format, and I promise you, you will thank me later. Additionally, you're going to want to start developing systems to track your weekly sales. Create good habits in your business from the start, and you'll be in a better position to make data-driven decisions in your business moving forward. Plus, having all of that data at your fingertips makes it easier for new employees or consultants to help you when you're ready. If you haven't already gotten your hands on my free resource library, head to ecommercebadassery.com/free stuff to get on the list and get instant access. I have a tool in there to get you started. You'll also want to make sure you get yourself an email address at your own URL. Don't rely on just your business name at gmail.com. The easiest tool for this is G Suite, which is the business version of Google Tools. It's super inexpensive and will instantly make you look more professional and trustworthy in the online space. And then lastly, let's talk about document organization. I'm a big lover of Google Docs and have used it for years, even in my previous day job. I moved all of our reporting into Google Sheets instead of mailing giant spreadsheets every day. I moved our note taking to there and even used it to share photos with editors and all that good stuff. I do still love Google Docs, especially for their spreadsheets. But I've recently started using Dropbox more. And while the tools are very similar, I will say that Dropbox is much better for storing assets like product photos and marketing banners. And I'm even starting to use Dropbox Paper, their version of Docs, a lot more. Dropbox Paper has come a long way since it was first released. It does also integrate with Google Docs, so if you prefer the functionality of a Google Doc to Dropbox Paper, you can create a Google Doc within Dropbox. But it doesn't sync to your Google Drive, so you'll still only be able to access it from Dropbox. I will say I love the Google Doc outline layout with the anchor links and how it lays out in the sidebar. Dropbox has a version of this functionality, but it's not as seamless as the Google Docs version. And the biggest reason that I'm slowly making the switch is I find Dropbox to be much faster, and the desktop access is much more smooth and native feeling than Google Drive. The speed I know has something to do with the way Dropbox syncs files compared to Google Drive, but I don't know all the details. When you're getting started, Google Docs is definitely less expensive because it gives you more free storage, but as your storage needs grow, they're neck and neck in pricing. For me, because I create a lot of docs in my business thanks to this podcast, the speed is really important. Google Drive has kind of been performing like crap for me for the last couple of months, which really slows me down and has been driving me a little crazy. For you, that may not matter, and lots of people do use the tools together. So if the speed isn't an issue, I would ultimately say use Dropbox to store your assets and then use Google Drive for their docs and spreadsheets. Lastly, before we dive into some of the more advanced tools, I wanted to touch on social media management tools real quick. I get this question so much, and I see people asking it as well in the lounge. There are a lot of variables to consider here, and it's going to depend a bit on your needs, but one of the most popular is certainly Later. I personally prefer Planoly as it lets you save drafts of images with the caption, where Later stores media separately and you can only add a caption when you go to schedule that media. This may have changed because I honestly haven't been inside Later in a long time, but it's always been a gripe of mine. With Planoly, you can also schedule stories and even reels, and you can post to Facebook from Planoly too. One of the most overlooked platforms, though, is Creator Studio from Facebook, which you can post to your page and Instagram from, and it's completely free. They also came out with a new tool called Planner that you can access from the front end of your business page on Facebook. Not everyone has access to this apparently because I don't, but Nicole Dietrich has given me a demo of it and it's available in her account. I don't know too much about it, what the timeline is for a full rollout or anything like that, but either way, you still have Creator Studio as an option. Now, what if you have a social person on your team who is creating and scheduling all the content and you want to have an easy approval process where you can go in and give the thumbs up or request changes? Then you'll want a more robust tool like Sprout Social. If your product requires a lot of education and has a lot of evergreen content, like maybe a supplement, CBD, or even a food product that shares a lot of recipes, for example, just any business that has a lot of non-time sensitive content that can easily be recycled, then I would look at a platform like Meet Edgar or SmarterQ. Honestly, there are a bajillion platforms out there. And the best one is the one that you and your team are going to use. Think through the most important features for you and then find the platform that works. If you want me to take a deeper dive into picking the right social media platform for you, let me know on Instagram or inside the eCommerce Badassery Facebook group. All right, so now that you've got all the basics in place and your business is growing, it's time to step up your game in things like inventory management, customer service, and even team building. So let's talk about some of my favorite tools for this. First up, let's go back to beefing up those SOPs. I love the tool Loom to create quick screen shares and voiceover videos for training purposes. This is great if you're going to outsource things like uploading products to your e-commerce platform or the use of any software platform in your business. This way, you can just have this library of videos to share with your new employees or contractors, making the onboarding process super easy. It'll also lessen the number of questions you have to field from your people because you can just direct them back to the videos. This is definitely one of those things I recommend you create before you think you need them. Another tool I want to mention that is perfect if you find yourself working with contractors or working on platforms that don't let you create multiple users like Instagram is LastPass. This is essentially a password organization and sharing tool that serves two purposes. One, it lets you store and access all of your passwords in one place with just one master password, which is cool, but honestly, I just save my passwords to my browser for my own usage. But the second is it lets you share your password with others, allowing them to use your login without ever seeing your actual password. I personally use this with my VA, who I want to have access to my social media schedule, but don't want to pay for an additional user, or my stock photo website when she pulls images for my blog posts. You may want to use this to share access to your Instagram account or another tool that charges you for access for additional users. Now, of course, if you're sharing access to your main admin account, that user is going to have a lot of control. So only do that with someone you really trust, but it is a handy little tool to have. Next up, let's talk about shipping platforms. When you're just starting out, shipping directly from the Shopify platform is probably fine. But as your volume grows and your product assortment expands, you're going to need a more robust tool to manage this. Additionally, while you do get discounts on shipping when purchasing through Shopify, and those discounts do go up for each higher Shopify plan you're on, you may even still get better discounts when purchasing shipping through a third-party platform. If you're a subscription box, my favorite is Pirate Ship. The software is really built for shipping multiple of the same exact package. You can still use it for individual shipping, but it's not the best for that because other tools that were built for singular shipments are going to have more features to help you in your process. If you're a more traditional e-commerce store with lots of different SKUs, that's where a tool like ShipStation can really support you, even in the picking and packing process. It gives you a few different ways to pull your pick report so you don't have to pick order by order, running back and forth to the same spot in your warehouse over and over. You can just pull all of the same items at the same time. You will also get discounts on shipping or have the opportunity to hook up your own shipping accounts. And another popular platform is Shipping Easy. I don't have personal experience with it, so I can't speak to its features, but I hear about it all the time. I encourage you to do some comparison and decide which is best for you. One of the next upgrades you're going to want to make in your business is a robust customer service platform, especially when you've got inquiries coming in from so many different channels like email, all of your social channels, and even those customers who prefer to contact you through chat. Gorgias is a super robust all-in-one customer service tool that lets you centralize the communication with your customers. You can also automate your chat to answer frequently asked questions like, "Where's my order?" And you can even integrate it with Klaviyo so you can exclude angry customers from your weekly newsletter. If you're interested in trying Gorgias, reach out to me on Instagram at eCommerce and I can introduce you to my partner contact there. They'll even buy out your existing contracts for you if you're switching from another platform like Zendesk, which I do have some clients who have already made the switch. They find it much more user-friendly, that it serves their needs better, and it costs them less than some other platforms. Ultimately, whichever platform you end up using, I want you to consider the number of customer service inquiries and the speed at which you are able to resolve them, a KPI or key performance indicator, just as important as any other in your business. Customer service takes a lot of time and resources, so if you can make that more efficient in your business, it's going to pay off big time. Another tool which kind of goes hand in hand with customer service is a tool called Root Shipping Insurance. What's super cool about this is it allows your customers to purchase shipping insurance at checkout for pennies on the dollar. Then, if a shipment goes missing, the customer goes directly to Root to handle the next steps, which saves you and your team a ton of time and aggravation, and your customer gets reimbursed for their missing shipment. All right, so this next one is not sexy, but it's so important, and that is inventory management. Now, Shopify has some decent tools when you're first getting started, especially since they introduced a cost field for your items a couple of years ago. This gives you insight into your cost of goods sold and subsequently your gross profit margin, which is so important for a product-based business. But outside of that, it is pretty limited. There are definitely some apps you can use for this, but they are not all created equal. If you're a maker managing raw materials, then my go-to is Katana. Let me know if you need an intro there. I'm also a Katana partner, so I can get you set up with a demo to ensure it's the right platform for you. If you're selling finished goods, then there are a lot of options out there for you. My previous company used Stitch Labs until we integrated it with our enterprise ERP system. And a tool like this will give you more reporting in terms of your sell-through and category management. Plus, it gives you an easy way to create purchase orders and send them off to your suppliers. Shopify also has its own tool they built called Stocky. This gives you recommendations on what you need to order based on how quickly you're moving inventory. It grades your products based on their popularity and allows you to send purchase orders to your vendors. According to its reviews, it doesn't have the best support, so depending on your needs, you may want to look at other options. Before you start your research, I recommend you take some time to list out the features you need based on your business today and where you think you're going to go. This is how I approach researching any SaaS product, honestly, starting with that requirements list. Get your team involved in this one as well, because there may be things they're struggling with that you don't even realize. And last on the list for today, but certainly not least, is the eCommerce Badassery Free Resource Center. If you're on my email list, you already have access to that, so don't forget to take advantage of those tools. If you're new to me, you can head to ecommercebadassery.com/free stuff to sign up and get instant access to all the tools inside. You'll find things like a weekly reporting template, templates to help you reflect on your marketing campaigns, and a whole lot more. Now, of course, I didn't cover every possible aspect of your e-commerce business. We'd be here all freaking day. But if there is a specific type of tool you need a recommendation for, you can always ask inside the eCommerce Badassery Facebook group, and I'm happy to help any way I can. Don't forget to check the show notes to links for all the tools I mentioned today. And for some more of those advanced tools like Katana or Gorgeous, reach out to me directly so I can introduce you to my contact there to help make the process a little bit smoother. Meet me here next week, same time, same place, where I go through the must-have apps for your Shopify store. That episode has been a long time coming, and I'm so excited to finally get it together for you. As always, thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and I'll see you on the flip side, friend. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're looking to surround yourself with more product entrepreneurs who totally get your life right now, get your booty on over to the eCommerce Badassery Facebook group. Can't wait to see you there. Until next time, e-commerce friends, stay badass.